Good evening, friends. Welcome to this 7th portion of the series on UCP DC. Today we shall be having a look at Bill of Lading, article number 20. Transport documents are a very important portion of the UCP and very important portion of a certified documented specialist life. As an international trade practitioner, we will have to deal with various transport documents and we need to know a lot of things in detail. We shall discuss more aspects of transport documents while we are having a look at the international standard banking practices. Now we will just focus our attention to what is mentioned in the UCP alone. Article 20 talks about Bill of Lading. Bill of Lading can be however named. Bill of Lading submitted under the credit. When a bill of lading is required by the credit, can be however named. It must appear to indicate the name of the carrier. The document submitted must appear to indicate the name of the carrier, same as multimodal transport document. It should be signed by carrier, master or named agent. Same as the multimodal transport document, it should be signed either by the carrier or the master or a named agent. If the named agent, then agent should be signing for on behalf of the carrier or the master. And any signature must be identified as that of the carrier or master or agent. So you can sign as carrier, you can sign as agents for carrier, you can sign as master, you can sign as agents for master, but you cannot sign just as agents. If you sign as agents, then you should say as agents for whom, and then the carrier has to be indicated. Name of the carrier has to be there compulsorily. If signed by agent, it should indicate whether they have signed for on behalf of the carrier or the master. The transport document must appear to indicate that goods have been shipped on board. In the earlier case, we had goods have been received for carriage or taken in charge. Here we are saying shipped on board. Why? Because this is a bill of lading. Bill of lading is otherwise called ocean BL or port to port BL, which means the only mode of transport that we have in mind is by sea. This is a shipment by sea, shipment by vessel, shipment from port to another port, seaport to seaport. So it should indicate goods have been shipped on board and named vessel. There is no question of intended, a named vessel. And it should be from a stated port of loading. Stated means stated in the credit. It should indicate goods have been shipped on board a named vessel from the port stated in the credit. How it will be indicated? By a pre-printed wording or a notation. If it is a notation, the notation should be indicating that goods have been shipped on board. This is what we normally call as an on-board notation. The date of issuance of the transport document will be deemed to be the date of shipment. The date of issuance of the document will be deemed to be the date of shipment. This date of shipment is required for calculating tenor and calculating presentation period and so many other purposes. Now, if there is a dated on-board notation, then such a dated on-board notation will be considered as date of shipment and not the date of issuance. This dated on-board can be before or after the date of issuance, and it should not be a problem. If the bill of lading contains an indication that it is an intended vessel, then the on-board notation should indicate the actual vessel name as well as a date, because it has to be loaded on a vessel. Only then BL will have its validity and acceptable under the article 1. And 2, it has to indicate the date, because this date will be considered as the onboard notation date and this date will be the date of issuance of the document. So if the transport document submitted contains an indication that an intended vessel, the onboard notation should indicate the shipment date as well as the vessel name. It should indicate as stated in the credit the port of loading and port of discharge. The transport document should indicate as stated in the credit the port of loading and port of discharge. We cannot have a different ports, just like we have in the multimodal situation. If it states intended with respect to the port, then the onboard notation should also say in which port the goods were loaded, the actual port in which the goods were loaded on board. So if it is an intended vessel, the onboard notation should name the vessel. If it is intended port, the onboard notation should name the port. Onboard notation will in any case will have a date. So the date of the onboard notation indicating the actual vessel and the actual port will be considered as the date of issuance of this particular transport document. Effective which the tenor, the presentation and all other things will be the counter starting. This transport document, the bill of lading issued, will have to be the sole original. And if it indicates it has been issued in multiple, that is duplicate, triplicate, 3+2, 3+5, the full set has to be submitted unless the documentary credit provides for disposal of other portions of this original. The bill of lading should contain the terms and conditions of the carriage or should make a reference. So if it says it can make a reference, it means we can accept a short form or a blank back transport document. The bill of lading should not indicate that it is subject to charter party. The bill of lading should not indicate it is subject to charter party, because what we are looking for is a port-to-port ocean BL and not a charter party BL. The definition of transshipment for the purpose of this article is that loading and unloading, unloading and reloading of goods from one vessel to another, In the earlier case, in multimodal, we saw from one means of conveyance to another means on same or different mode. Here it says from one vessel to another vessel, and it should happen during the carriage, and it should happen between the ports stated in the credit. If it is happening in either place, before the port or after the destination port, it is not, that unloading or reloading is not considered as transshipment. Okay. Having said this is transshipment, the document may indicate that goods will or may be transshipped. The documents may indicate the goods will or may be transshipped, but the entire carriage should be covered in a single transport document. The document may say the goods may or will be transshipped, and it should be covered in a single transport document. We had another indication that the transshipment will or may take place for a multimodal transport document. Here we cannot have an indication that transshipment may or will take place, but it can say goods will or may be transshipped, but it should be covered in a single transport document. The indication that transshipment will or may take place, if it is there, then the acceptability will be if and only if the goods are carried in a container, that is a box, or in a lash, lighter aboard the ship, or in a trailer, where the trailer which had come by train or any other modes is pushed into the vessel and then pushed out of the vessel. If the goods are carried in a lighter aboard the ship, lash barge, or a trailer or a container, then the transport document saying transshipment will or may take place is acceptable. Why? Because goods are safe inside this container, and this container will be loaded, unloaded, reloaded, whatever it is, it will remain safe. The clause carrier reserves the right to transship will be disregarded. The clause carrier reserves the right to transship will be disregarded. Thanks for watching this video. We shall meet again in part 8 to discuss another transport document.